Welcome to TV African News. Thank you so much for joining us and always being part of us. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahaba Gajura, but first are the headlines. MPs want status report on specialized hospital before approving new funding. President Yoweri Museveni advises meet Pan-African Youth Union leaders. URSB collects 45.8 billion shillings in non-tariff revenue. In a sports today, Timbe survives a URAFC Sachs technical wing to salvage season. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We start with one of our top stories. Now, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, has directed the Prime Minister to give governments a position on the status of the construction of the International Specialized Hospital in Lubowa along the Kampala-Entebbe Road. Take a look at the details.
The news comes at a time when the Ministry of Finance has requested for an extra 313 billion shillings in the next financial year to be given to the Italian investor for the project, which was already guaranteed for 1.4 trillion shillings in 2019 by government. However, some members of parliament requested the disbursement of the money to be stayed until the progress of the project is confirmed. Among said a team went to the construction site and they were denied entry. Mwanga Chivumbi, the MP for Butambala County, explained that in the current budget, the hospital was allocated 348 billion shillings. He said that the controversy surrounding the construction of the hospital requires the committees of finance and budget to ascertain the level of works at the site. In 2019, Parliament approved a loan guaranteed of 1.4 trillion shillings to finance Iroko, a special purpose vehicle for the construction of the hospital. The project has, however, recorded setbacks, with the SPV Finas Roko falling apart following the introduction of another player, a Chinese firm, Power China Guizhou Engineering Company Limited, as the civil works contractor. Following the controversies, the Committee on National Economy requested the Ministry of Health to facilitate an on-site check on the progress of the hospital.
Away from that, the leaders of the Pan-African Youth Union have held talks with the President, Advisor on Youth and Children Affairs, Florence Nachiwala, and the Senior Presidential Advisor on the Diaspora Affairs, Abewo Lusimbi, over the forthcoming Pan-African Youth Forum. We have the details.
The youthful delegation was led by Uganda National Youth Council Chairperson Jacob Eyeru, Bening Ahmed, the Secretary General of the Pan-African Youth Union, Roy Sasaka Tetewa, the CEO of National Youth Council, and Oliver Mutesi, the Vice Chairperson of the Pan-African Union. He said that there wouldn't be a better place to launch the Pan-African Youth Forum than Uganda, since Uganda is the pivot of Pan-Africanism, and President Museveni beats any leader on the continent in advancing for the same. During the meeting, Florence Nachiwala Chinji noted that government will offer all the necessary support towards the event, as well as pushing the agenda of uniting the youth across the continent. Nachiwala said that the NRM government believes in Pan-Africanism and all policies and guidelines developed must have a component of Pan-Africanism. She noted that Uganda is driving a youth inclusion agenda and these have been incorporated in leadership right from the grassroots. The presidential advisor promised to offer all the relevant support to ensure a successful event of the Pan-African Youth Forum next year.
Away from that, the Uganda Registration Services Bureau collected a total of 45.87 billion shillings in non-tax revenue between July 2021 and April 7, 2022, against a target of 45.57 billion shillings, representing a 100.6% achievement for the financial year 2021-2022. This was revealed by URSB's Registrar General Masike Kainowisho while appearing before Parliament's Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee on Thursday to discuss the agency's ministerial policy statement for fiscal year 2022-2023. Kainowisho attributed the growth in collections to continuous service delivery improvement, automation of registration processes, zero tolerance to corruption, and keen focus on good governance and leadership. The Registrar General told Parliament that key achievements included legal and policy reforms, national intellectual property policy implementation, automation of registration processes such as online filing of annual returns, online marriage registration system, progress in use of security interest, and the operationalization of regional offices in major districts including Bale, Arua, Gulu, Bara, and Masaka. She told the committee that during the period, URSB registered 14,295 new companies, 19,141 business names, 39,414 debentures, 3,364 security interest notices, 4,022 marriage returns, 505 customary marriages, and 1,976 local trademarks, among others. The chairperson of the committee and MP Gomba West Robina Rakojo commended URSB for the continued good performance and pledged the committee's support to ensure non-tariff revenue collections grow further. Well, thank you so much, reporter. We take a quick break. We shall come back with the international news. Welcome back for the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In international news, police video has been released of a white officer fatally shooting a black man in the back of the head after a scuffle over a stun gun. Now, the videos showed the racist white police officer shooting unarmed Patrick Lyoya, who is 26, while he was on the ground and facing away from the officer.
Footage of the 4th April incident in Grand Rapids, Michigan shows Patrick Lyoya, 26, running from the officer following a traffic stop. The officer, who has not been named, is then heard telling Mr. Lyoya to let go of his taser before the man is shot as he lies face down on the ground. The shooting has led to protests. Dozens of demonstrators gathered on Wednesday outside the Grand Rapids Police Department, demanding the name of the police officer involved to be made public. State police are currently investigating the incident. Mr. Lyoya is originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo and had lived in Grand Rapids for about 5 years, according to the Office of Civil Rights Attorney Benjamin Crump, who is representing Lyoya family. The police officer is currently on administrative leave, pending the outcome of the investigation. He would not be identified publicly unless criminal charges were to be brought, according to Grand Rapids Police Department Chief Eric Winstrom.
Away from that, Rwanda has struck a deal with Britain to receive some asylum seekers in the East African community. The move has been criticized by UK opposition politicians and refugee groups as inhumane and unworkable.
Speaking in Rwanda's capital, Patel said resettled people would be given support for up to 5 years, including training, accommodation, and healthcare, so they can resettle and thrive. Patel visited Kigali to sign what the two countries call an economic development partnership. The plan will see some people who arrive in Britain in small boats across the English Channel picked up by the UK government and flown 6,400 kilometers to Rwanda, apparently for good. Rwanda confirmed the deal in a statement, but neither government provided full details of how it would work. Speaking at a joint news conference with Patel, Rwandan Minister of Foreign Affairs Vincent Biruta said the deal was giving migrants the chance to make new lives in the country as full members of the communities. Biruta added the deal was mutually beneficial and would help Rwanda advance its own development. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, however, insisted that Rwanda had totally transformed in the last 2 decades. Britain says relocation decisions will not be based on migrants' country of origin, but on whether they used illegal or dangerous routes to reach the UK from a safe country such as France.
Moving on, German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has urged the Malian transitional government to stop cooperating with Russian forces. Now, this was after a meeting with the transitional president of Mali, Kano Assimi Goita, in the Bamako on Wednesday.
Whilst the German Foreign Minister Baerbock expressed fear of crimes being committed against Malian civilians, the Malian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Abdoulaye Diop, rather wants foreign partners to respect the choices of Mali debunking claims suggesting that Mali is home to a private security company. Mali has state-to-state cooperation with Russia, which is a long-term cooperation, and hope that each of Mali's partners will also respect Mali's choice. According to its concern, Mali makes its choices just as Germany makes its choices. Thousands of soldiers and civilians have been killed and hundreds of thousands of people have been forced to flee their homes. Mali's equipped army has also often been accused of committing abuses during the brutal conflict. He added that Baerbock was unfairly comparing events in Mali and Ukraine. There are allegations that Malian troops, in coordination with foreign fighters, massacred hundreds of civilians in late March. West Africa bloc ECOWAS has imposed sanctions on Mali, including a trade embargo over the delayed return of civilian rule.
Moving on, the CEO in East Africa of fuel supplier Rubis was expelled from Kenya after days of fuel shortage. On Thursday, the Energy Cabinet Secretary pointed the finger at companies diverting cargo earmarked for local use of export. Now, Rubis assured its efforts were directed to supplying the Kenyan market. Kenyan motorists endured yet another day of major fuel shortages, with strict rationing at petrol stations. If the government blamed holding and panic buying for hours-long queues, it pointed the figure at other players on Thursday, namely oil marketers. Monica Juma, Kenya Cabinet Secretary Energy and Petroleum, said that the government will not tolerate any entity or person that is causing distress, either by creating an artificial problem or stress. The statement came a day after the general manager in East Africa of French fuel supplier Rubis was expelled from the country. So far, Rubis Energy Kenya denied increasing its export sales to the detriment of the Kenyan market and said its efforts were directed to supply the market. The government compared the situation to deliberate effort to sabotage its economy, which she said constitutes a capital crime in Kenya's statute books. The crunch began last week in Kenya's west following a row between oil marketing companies and the government over subsidy payments. The government pays oil providers to subsidize costs at the pump for motorists, but these companies say they were waiting on 4 months of outstanding payments. Well, Africa Today takes a quick break. She'll come back with business, health, and sports. Welcome back for the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In the business news, Senegal has developed an important oyster industry in recent years that is still underexploited, although it is promising new revenues. Now, the mangrove swamp near Joel, a fishing village in southern Senegal, teems with oysters, but hunting for shellfish treasure among generatory roots in brackish water is a lot of work.
Bob Bakabanda is in charge of oyster farming at the Ministry of Fisheries, and according to him, marketing is mainly informal as the sector does not meet international sanitary requirements. So the little export that takes place is informal and limited to the sub-region for a small quantity compared to the overall production. Thousands of people, the vast majority of them women, make a living from oysters in Senegal, usually at a small and informal level. Osman Fall, an oyster farmer, says that the activity is definitely launched and have doubled their production compared to last year. In 2017, farmers plucked about 15,600 tons of oysters from Senegal's mangroves, according to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. They also gathered about 400 tons of oyster beds. Senegal lags behind China, world's largest oyster producer, that harvests about 3.5 million tons per year, according to the French Research Institute, IFREMA.
In a health news, Senegalese authorities have sacked the director of a public hospital and suspended the staff on duty on the day a pregnant woman died after waiting in vain for a cesarean section. Now, these were the first sanctions taken after the death, which caused an outcry all over the country, with many social media users in the country questioning the quality of the public health system. We have the details. According to the Senegalese press, Astou Sokna, in her 30s, who was 9 months pregnant, died on 7 April in Logo Hospital, North, after unsuccessfully requesting a cesarean section. The circumstances of her death, as reported by the press quoting her relatives, caused considerable emotion. The staff of the institution refused her request for a cesarean section, arguing that her operation was not planned, and threatened to expel her if she insisted. President Macky Sall published a message of condolence to her family on Monday evening on Snapchat, a social network that is very popular among Senegalese. He had instructed to shed light on the causes of death in order to determine all responsibilities. The Health Ministry said in a statement on Tuesday evening that it had sent missions to the hospital. An official from the Ministry of Health confirmed that news of suspension of the staff on duty to the media and said that these were precautionary measures taken by the ministry. In sports news today, tax collectors URAFC have announced the sacking of 4 members of the technical wing in a bid to salvage the season as the league title seems to have gone out of their hands. We have the details.
Third on the 16-team Uganda Premier League log with 12 off leaders, Vipers Sports Club D5, that is on 55 points. URAFC has played 2 more games than the top 2 teams. This were winning this season's trophy seems a tall order for them, but the recent performances seems to have been a point of concern for management. Consequently, the tax collectors have announced the sacking of 4 members of the technical wing, including the assistant coach, Simeon Masaba Robert Mukasa, the assistant coach, Bile Chigun, the goalkeeper coach, and Edward Sally alias Biano, a physical trainer. The club chairman Dr. Michagalia said in a statement that while the past few weeks have been disappointing in terms of results, they should not cancel all the hard work they have done for the club. He added that he had enjoyed working with them and regret that things have not worked out as they had envisaged. However, management of the tax collectors said head coach Sam Timber will also continue serving in his role as the head coach. In August last year, URAFC appointed Masaba and the other 3 technical wing members to take charge of the team on an interim basis after the departure of Sam Simba. A month later, Timber was appointed as the team's head coach as he completed the technical wing department.
Well, thank you so much for being a loyal audience from where we started from. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We shall keep updating you. It is TV Africa, the right to know.